Hey everybody, this is Perch. Let's get right to this mail. It says the Star Creator Effect. It says, Dear Baron Perch Van Perchington IV, very well done. Thanks for your kind words in my prior email. I hope that your health is better, or at least tolerable. I don't know. Let's go with no. Your video on long runs by some comic publishers on some. Sorry, let me start over. I said that all stupid. Your video on long runs by comic publishers on something that I have been wondering. What happened to the Superstar comics creator? When I was early in my fandom, there were a lot. Part of the fun of getting into comics was learning that the same guy who drew Avengers 186 also drew Marvel Team Up number 79. As you mentioned, the needle moving artist effectively went extinct. A name as huge as Jim Lee needs a reunion with Batman to generate real buzz. Even he couldn't get Challengers the Unknown relaunch consistently into the top 10. As worrisome is that the star writer isn't that far behind. Who was the last writer that could get you curious effectively about any new series? It felt like Tom King was going to be that guy for 5 minutes, but his work is very repetitive. Every new Tom King 12-issue Black Label series reads an awful lot like the last Tom King 12-issue Black Label series. Scott Snyder needs Batman to get to the top of the sales charts. Even Jeff Johns doesn't move the needle without his corporate title at DC. So, the sales charts are littered with number ones and twos that you know will have fallen off badly by the time they reach 12. The idea of something like Swamp Thing, number 21, or Doom Patrol, number 19, completely reinventing a franchise and launching a superstar career is basically unimaginable today. It seems like Ed Brubaker, Matt Fraction, David Ah was the last C-list character generating A-list attention based strictly on creative factors, and that was almost 20 years ago. That seems like he's talking about Iron Fist, I believe there. Maybe Hawkeye to it, but Iron Fist. That seems like a big problem. So what went wrong? Good question. I'll give you my take on it. I'm sure lots of people have different answers to this. So you're probably already thinking of your own. And, if I'm a successful, proper YouTuber, I would be saying, what are your ideas? Let's go into my top 10 reasons why superstar creators are a thing of the past. But before I do that, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification button. And P.S., I've got some merchandise shit that you can buy. Let me know your comments on what you think of all these developments below. Make sure you click twice and subscribe and tell 10 of your friends and maybe spam message boards. And if you do, then I'll hook you up with some porn. I'm kidding about that. I don't have any hookups. Anyway, sorry. They're getting more and more blatant. Drives me crazy. All right. So what happened? Well, again, my philosophy or my thought is this. Image happened. And what I mean by that is at one point, you had a bunch of superstar artists, and Marvel was happily promoting and making those artists popular. They were, they were the top of the world, and they were, the equivalent of rock stars in comics before you had to dress up as a rock star and, have your own message board or, write some fantasy novels or do Sandman. And then, apparently, molest some girls in the process. That's the rock star life we came to live in. Just kidding about that stuff. I don't know. Anyway, what happened is that you had these artists that became bigger than life at Marvel, and Marvel enjoyed that for a while until the artists are like, nah, we can actually go do our own company and keep all the money for ourselves. And they left all at once, and it was humiliating and embarrassing to Marvel. And as you've heard about this on this channel in the past, it's stuck in people's heads. I made the comment that I was talking to an assistant editor, like 2 years ago. And she was still like, those guys were wrong for leaving us. I was like, you weren't born then. Like, literally, you were not born when Rob Liefeld left. It's amazing to me that this continues. That, this thought process that they betrayed me is still in people's heads. That's shocking. But it is. I think that there absolutely is this feeling that, from Marvel, and I think DC's had the same at different times, of we built you up and then you abandoned us. You basically took your ball and left, and you used I think the exact words I've heard is you used our publication, our promotion, our publishing line, which has a lot of recognition because of the characters we do, you used us for your own gain, and then you took off. Now, the hypocrisy of this statement is pretty crazy, and I'm telling you what I've heard. I certainly don't defend it. I think that there's something something nice about companies that routinely kind of exploit a lot of the people who work for them. For the people who work for them to actually go get theirs once in a while, I think that there's something good about that. But anyway. But ever since that happened, you'll notice. So first of all, Marvel and a lot of the Marvel first pivoted toward promoting the writer instead of the artist, and I think they believed that because they could get more control over it, and it was just something that they felt like they had more in their hand. From there, I think that led to the rise of Brian Michael Bendis and Mark Miller, and kind of other superstar writers who then promptly did the same thing. Miller went off and got a Netflix deal. Bendis went off to DC and promptly flamed out there. And, you had these writers that kind of shifted. I agree with you. Tom King had that rep going, and Tom King is at this point, a DC lifer. But Tom King is really, as much about the movie side of the business as the comic side. And so this has led him to basically do Tom King special projects, which are, you're seeing Tom King on Wonder Woman right now, but it's hard to believe that DC is going to put Tom King on a big like a Superman or a Batman again after his run. I think they're putting on Wonder Woman because he had a story to tell and they wanted to do something more political. And as much as people absolutely hate it when it's said, Wonder Woman just isn't an A-list character like Superman or Batman. Should be, but isn't. So I think that so he does special projects, but all of this is about, the publishers basically trying to keep more security into their business and put the characters, first and foremost in the lead, and deprioritize the people who are actually working on those characters. That's more or less what you've got going on here. They prefer to sell. They prefer to sell the characters because they own the characters. Characters can't walk away. The characters can't demand more money. The characters are theirs forever, free and clear. Whereas the creators could do all kinds of things. They could demand more money. They could go to another company. They could die. Lots of stuff that could get in the way of that profit. So that's more or less my take on it, of why you don't see kind of those characters. Now, the interesting thing is it's self-defeating, because if you have a good relationship with that creator, if you treat them well and they stay with you and you have that good kind of back and forth, you make them money, then it gives you something else to promote. And as we saw during the 90s, being able to promote simultaneously like Wolverine and Jim Lee is a good thing. But now 2 decades removed from that, it'd take a lot to rebuild it. And the comics, the big publishers are just not in the model to do that. The superstar artists do covers. The writers are there for a brief period of time, but they're definitely under the thumb of the publisher. And so it's just that's the model they've gotten themselves into, and it would take a lot of effort to let a superstar team grow into a title. It doesn't help, by the way, for what it's worth, that the creators will, when they start to get successful, will sometimes do stuff to just shoot themselves in the foot. I mean, Donny Cates springs to mind as somebody who was clearly on a rise to stardom and just decided to, literally and figuratively pee all over things and blow his chance. And I think that's, when you get those examples as well, it also causes the companies to pull back. Look, I mean, like Marvel's promoting the hell out of Jed MacKay. They've got him doing both the Avengers and the X-Men. He's one of their big writers. But if you look at the promotion of Jed MacKay compared to how they used to promote Mark Miller or or Bendis, it's not anywhere close to the same. Sad to say, I think I think it'll be a very long time before you see a publisher do for a writer what DC did for Bendis when he was coming. That was their words, not mine. Into their line. They put out like full page ads and they made a big deal out of it. I don't see, like, who is the biggest writer you have at Marvel right now? Is it MacKay? Possibly. I mean, if McKay jumped ship to DC, do you think he would get the same kind of fanfare as Bendis? He wouldn't. If Ryan North moved, I mean, so the world, the whole thing is just that's the world it's moved to, and I think it's destructive. I think that the publishers are taking money out of their pocket in return for feeling a little bit more secure about, their people can't escape them. And I think it's a net negative. So I think the days where you could have a superstar artist or a superstar writer are over, at least for a long time. I mean, until the business rebuilds in the current model, the current kind of culture and philosophy of comics, it's this way. It's stuck. And it should be undone. I mean, and your point is well taken. I think one of the consequences of this is, Scott Snyder is an example. He can sell, big money with Batman in DC. He goes off and does independence. Sales are a lot lower. Now, granted, it's not a recognizable character, and at the end of the day, the character is gonna kind of lead of what happens. But if you think about the Image guys, they were able to pull some pretty big people over to characters nobody had ever heard of, and I think it's just a lot different today. I don't think we don't live in the same environment now. But what do you think? Do you think the world comes back? Do you think we lost something from that world going away? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe, of course, and thanks for listening.